shall expiate by freeing a slave before they resume intercourse. This is to admonish you. God is cognizant of everything you do. If you cannot find a slave to free, then you shall fast 2 consecutive months before resuming intercourse. And these unable to fast shall feed 60 poor persons. This is for you to believe in God and His messenger. These are God's laws, and the rejectors have deserved painful retribution. Those who oppose God and His messenger are doomed like those before them who were doomed. We have revealed clear revelations, and the disbelievers therein have deserved painful retribution. The day will come when God resurrects them, then informs them of everything they have done. God has recorded it, while they forgot. God witnesses all things. Do you not realize that God knows everything in the heavens and the earth? No 3 people can meet in secrecy without Him being the 4th. No 5 without Him being the 6th. No less than this, no more, without Him being there. Then on the day of resurrection, He will inform them of everything they did. God is fully aware of all things. Those who are prohibited from conspiracy then go back to it, conspiring sinfully, maliciously, and in defiance of the messenger. And when they come to you, they greet you not with God's greetings, and say to themselves, "Let us see if God will punish us for what we say." Their only destiny is hell, wherein they burn. What a miserable destiny. O you who believe, if you have to confer secretly, you shall not confer to commit sin, transgression, and disobedience to the messenger. You may confer only to work righteousness and piety. Beware of God, for you will be gathered before Him. Alright, we'll stop there. Alright, verse 1. God has heard the woman who debated with her about her husband and complained to God. Those among you who estrange their wives as if they were their mothers are doing wrong. Obviously, this is in the Quran for a reason. God, as the footnote says, a common statement by Arabian husbands who wanted to punish their wives was, "You are as forbidden to me in intercourse as my mother." Okay, it obviously applied to that point in time in history where this was a common thing, to where it needed to be said. But as we know, the Quran is for every day, and it applies at all times. So what these verses are saying, we should obviously take to heart. Okay. Those who estrange their wives in this manner then reconcile shall expiate by freeing a slave before they resume intercourse. This is to admonish you. There again, obviously we don't have slaves or things like this today, but the point is well taken about the relationship that should exist between a husband and a wife, and how regardless of the circumstances, how a person should treat his wife. Okay, if you cannot find a slave, then you shall fast 2 consecutive months before resuming intercourse. Like this is just straightforwardness here, telling the people of this applies to what they need to do to receive reconciliation. Okay, those who oppose God and His messenger are doomed like those before them who are doomed. We have revealed clear revelations, and the disbelievers therein have deserved painful retribution. Okay, this verse is just tremendous. When God says we have revealed clear revelations, and the disbelievers therein have deserved painful retribution, when He says clear, He means clear. The Quran is straightforward, and it says what it says is what it means. When you read it, you don't have to. It's so fully detailed that you don't have to look to any other outside sources to find the meaning of it. It's right there. The Quran is complete. You don't need the Hadith, the Sunnah, the Bible. Plus, the Quran confirms these previous scriptures, so there's no need for them, excluding the Hadith and Sunnah. So when you see people that are rejecting this on the basis of one thing or another, they truly deserve, or they will receive their due what they're doing. The day will come when God resurrects them, then informs them of everything they have done. God has recorded it while they forgot. God witnesses all things. This verse tells what a lot of verses have, and it's been well discussed in here in terms of God recording everything, and God knows everything that we do. Nothing goes without.
Martha, you have sent the Sharif to the babysitter. I took pause.
Okay, nothing happens in any place on this earth without God knowing about it. From everything from the ant moving to the actions of the challenger, anything. When you say God has recorded it, that means God knows your actions before you've even committed them. Everything has been recorded before they even took place. But when we say this, lots of times we know in the Quran that God controls everything here in this mosque, and God controls everything on the earth. But in the same sense, when you decide that you want to be a believer, you're making a covenant with God, and you have to hold up your end of the deal. You have an obligation in which you're saying, yes, I will pray 5 times a day. Yes, I will give to charity. You have obligations that you have to do. You have to hold up the commandments. You have to be a righteous person. Okay, that means just because God controls everything and God knows what's going to happen and everything is pre-recorded doesn't mean you can sit back and relax. Like a sticker on the bumper sticker on the car outside. I was looking at it a couple days ago and it says, "Relax, God's in charge." Okay, that means, to me, I took that and I thought, relax, God's in charge. What does that mean? Relax, sit back, God's in charge? No, it means relax your emotions. Don't worry about anything because God's in control. But that doesn't mean that your end of the deal, you don't have to hold up your end of the deal. You understand what I'm saying? It's not like you can just, okay, well, we'll just relax and I'll sleep from 8 p.m. to 8 p.m. the next day. So we have an obligation to God, and that extends into everything we do. God wants us to be the best we can and to put forth the maximum effort in everything we do. I discussed this with Mr. Khalifa about, well, why should we want to achieve in everyday life? Why should we want to be a success? Why should a person want to go to college and get an education or make money or all these things? Because in retrospect, they're not really important. All that's important in this life is our relationship to God. And realizing that's when these other things can become important, because a wealthy believer, he said, can do more good than a poor believer. They can help more people. They can do more things. Not that one is better than the other, but just the capability of giving more to charity and things like this is greater if you have more wealth naturally. And with that in mind, also, God wants us to do our best in everything we do. And when it comes to our jobs, it's a matter of thinking about God in your job. That becomes our goal, to be conscious of God at all times. So you're going to work, but you're realizing that you're completely conscious of God at all times within your work. That's what we're talking about, of not idolizing anything else. When you set these goals with the ultimate plan of being righteous in mind in your relationship with God. I kind of got stuck in that verse because that's one I understood. I can elaborate on that one a little bit longer. Okay. Do you not realize that God knows everything is in heaven and the earth? No 3 people can meet in secrecy without Him being the 4th, nor 5. This goes along the same lines. God knows everything. God is completely cognizant of all things. You can't meet in private. You can't, it just, God knows everything. And everything is recorded. Okay, those who are prohibited from conspiracy then go back to it, conspiring sinfully, maliciously, and in defiance of the messenger. didn't really understand this. Those who are prohibited from conspiracy, who would that be? Prohibited from conspiracy. Conspiracy in terms of...
Just meeting in secret. People, in their privacy, they may plot things that may not be in harmony with the society, with the group.
Okay, so in a society where you are prohibited from meeting in secret?
No, let's say 3 or 4 of us are sitting somewhere and they say, let us not go to the picnic of the group tomorrow, let us go and invite some others to the Mount Lemon instead of the desert. So they're conspiring to break up the group. So this is the kind of conspiracy we're talking about.
Okay. Conspiring sinfully, maliciously, and in defiance of the messenger. Then let us see if God will punish us for what we say. Here again, you see people testing God, and obviously, I mean, that's not the thing.
Actually, we had these things happen here in the past, and those people are not here anymore. They're just troublemakers, and they want, the silly things. They just create disharmony in the group. And time proved that they were not really believers.
O you who believe, if you have to confer secretly, you shall not confer to commit sin, transgression, and disobedience to the messenger. You may confer only to work righteousness and piety. Beware of God, for you will be gathered before Him. That is just always keeping in mind that the day of resurrection is coming, regardless of where you meet or the circumstances with which you meet. Remember always to be righteous and pious. Okay, any questions or comments?
This fasting that you first was, this is done in the same manner that we observe from
Yes. Okay, I think the custom of estranging the wife as if she's the mother is kind of unfair to the wife. Especially in a society where there is polygamy and one wife is left hanging. She's not free to marry somebody else. She's not practicing getting her rights as a wife. So God is ending that terrible practice. And in verse 3 we see the Quran's solution to the slave problem, where slavery was practiced. Was practiced in this country until 200 years ago. 100 years ago. And the Quran's method is the most effective and the best method economically, because if you free 500,000 slaves all at once, they have a problem. They will not be able to handle it. So the Quran made it for expiation or atonement for sins. So it will be gradual. Robert said we don't have any slaves, so it works. You know, the guy who was sitting in a bus or something, just clapping like this. Somebody asked, what are you clapping for? So he said, well, this keeps the elephants away. The guy said, there's no elephants. The nearest elephant is 3,000 miles from here, so see, it works. So, there are no slaves now because this method works. And in the next verse it says, if you cannot find a slave, so if you don't have a slave of your own, you can always go and actually find the slave anywhere and pay for his freedom. Douglas?
Do these verses also refer to situations where the wife estranged the husband? That a wife should not treat her husband as if he's her father, something like that.
I don't think that custom exists, although it is sometimes a de facto. It's called headache instead of... It's a de facto estrangement.
I've heard that before. Not with
That's why I see you talking.
No, I qualified.
Oh boy.
It is a very common problem. Sometimes it's the husband's problem, sometimes it's the wife's problem. You know. But fairness is common sense. It's all common sense. These verses specifically deal with this practice that was terribly unfair, which is actually happening now. When I was in Saudi Arabia, I was listening to, they have a radio program where people write letters and complain. This is their way of getting the solution, of getting somebody's attention. And you would be amazed how many problems there are where wives are locked up for months. They don't even see their husband. But they sneak out a letter somehow to the radio station. It's a program that makes you cry. It's the problems they have there. So this is the kind of problem that these verses address. It is a form of slavery, and maybe this is why the expiation is to free a slave. And then Robert said there are no slaves now, but the Quran provides alternatives. If you don't have a slave, you go find a slave and you free him, free her. And if this is not possible, which it is not possible now, then you fast 2 consecutive months, which is indicative of the grossness of the offense. This is if you kill somebody by mistake, this is the expiation for killing somebody by mistake. And if you cannot fast 2 consecutive months, then you have to feed 6 to 4 people. Just the same as Ramadan. If you cannot fast in the month of Ramadan, you feed 1 poor person. For every day you break the fasting. So you can see the wonderful system that God has put in. So this is for you to believe in God and His messengers. These are God's laws. Because people who adhere to these commandments prove that they believe in God. When we follow the commandments, we attain certainty. The obligations that Robert mentioned, these obligations are not for God's benefit, but for our benefit. And the best thing out of those obligations is attaining certainty. When you do the 5 prayers, if you miss a prayer, you get the pinch immediately. Eventually, it's going to sink in our head that God controls everything. How does God know that they missed the moon prayer? So it happens gradually. You're gonna have this conviction and this certainty. Another thing I want to comment on is no people meet without God being there. Which verse is that?
7.
7. Do you not realize that God knows everything? The heavens and the earth. No 3 people can meet in secrecy without Him being before. So when God says He protects you, people are conspiring to do harm to you, God is there. God's angels are there too. But I want us to visualize God is with us, God is here. And just consciously think of that. God is here with us now. He knows that you're studying His Word. Awesome feeling. But we have to acquire it once in a while. We have to realize that God is here, God is with us. Always. And as believers, this is also believing in the invisible is very important. Just because we are in this dimension and we see each other, we can't ignore that other dimension. The invisible dimension. Behind each one of you, or next to you, is a big, huge, invisible giant protecting you. I'm laughing because there was I just glanced at the TV the other day, and there was a child with a dragon, invisible dragon. You have something like this with you. nobody can harm you. Nothing can harm you. So it is just not just being conscious of God, but also being conscious of the God put to guard you and guard your children and guard all your affairs. Prohibiting the conspiracy. So, God says in Surah 42 that the whole Surah is titled Consultation. And this is, alhamdulillah, we already achieved this. We're all just one unit. And we'll become one family. Day after day, Friday after Friday, we are the same people who are meeting here, dedicated. And it's been wonderful. We've just become a family. So we don't have this problem anymore. But God taught us what this is in the past. And we had people here sometimes to take a vote. There was opposition. We did some details. Remember what I'm doing? Yeah, we agree on that, yes. No, but that was opposition. There were people. Okay, I forget. But we did see examples of this, and as time went by, just happened that the people who did these kinds of conspiracies turned out to be unbelievers. They just didn't have it. They never saw the miracle, they never appreciated it, and they disappeared. That was years ago. So this verses 8 and 9 remind us of being always united group, our affairs based on consultation. Satan is like the wolf. The wolf only attacks the straying sheep. Those are themselves. So if they break away from the group, Satan will take lead. Are there any questions on this? It doesn't have to be. Look at that. By the way, this surah, this is the only surah in the Quran. This is a certain piece of information on the side from the computer facts. This is the only surah in the Quran where the name of God is in every verse, at least once. This surah here, the only one in the whole Quran where every verse has the word Allah in it. This one. Some of the verses have followed them.
57 Allah.
Say it again.
57. God, 57 times. In this
Really? Oh, my goodness. Alright. Here's another piece of information. So these are the fine details that we are blessed to know. When the average so-called Muslim doesn't even know how many surahs are in the Quran. Did you say something? Okay, if there are no questions, we go back to Robert. Oh, Abdullah.
And 7, when God says about no three people can eat secretly without him being the fourth. Then next one, literally it should come out like no 4 people being without being the fifth, but jumps to 5. Actually, when you read it, you can't really notice it because it goes 3, 4, 5, 6. But the thing is, we know that actually these numbers are counted, because if it was 4 and 5, then the sum of the numbers will be short.
Exactly.
A couple of numbers. But the way God put it, you can't really notice it if you read a million times. It's so fluent. You can't see the difference.
How come it didn't say 2 people, God will be the third, so because these numbers, what Abdullah is emphasizing, is that the numbers are part of the mathematical code. And the total of the number is 19. The number of numbers and the total of the numbers.
Actually, the reason that God didn't start from 2, because the verse ends with, it says nor less than this, nor more. If it starts with 2, there is no less of 2, because you can't have one people.
Actually, that's inspiring. That's unless you're schizophrenic. Conspire with yourself. Very good point, mashallah. You see, no less than this or more covers the whole range of the numbers. So it's true, if the verse started with 2, then less than that would be 1 conspiring with 2.
One question on the line. Disobedience to the messenger. Why does it say disobedience to God?
Well, apparently the word conspiracies against the messenger in particular. See, these verses are dealing with conspiracy. O you who believe that you have to confer secretly, you shall not confer to commit sin, transgression, and disobedience to the messenger. You may confer only towards righteousness and piety. It's a specific commandment dealing with conspiring against the messenger.
Does it mean that obedience of the messenger is required?
Well, it's a blessing, yes. See, what is happening when there's a messenger, God is sending information to the whole group through the messenger. And the messenger himself is benefiting from this information, so it will save us a lot of trouble if we obey. This includes the messenger and the people, because this information comes to everybody. I see this on my last trip to Canada, for example. I mentioned the issue of the age of 40, and I assumed that everybody accepted it, but they didn't, and I ended up wasting so much time on it. And it's a blessing if the people have the understanding of, for example, this verse. They'll be so comfortable if they have the conviction and understanding. They will not waste so much time arguing back and forth, you know. Why 40? How can a person who's 35 go to heaven if he didn't do this and that? But it's a piece of information that got sent to us, and they gave us the proofs and the evidence and a number from the Quran. So a person who's blessed, God says it's a blessing because it saves us a lot of time. It's finished, it's closed. When we say, God says, up to 40, everybody goes to heaven, and here's the number in the Quran, and here are the proofs, here are the signs, then we're convinced. So it's a blessing. So I appreciate the fact that this verse deals specifically with disobedience to the messenger. It's obedience in matters that have to do with God and information that's coming from God. It's not personal obedience. It's obedience to God because the information is coming from God. And we have in history, history tells us they were having a battle or something, and the Prophet Muhammad said, let us camp here. And they went to him and they said, this is information from you or from God? If it's from God, we'll do that. He said, no, it's from me. He said, this is a stupid idea. Killed, that is not how to be, you know. So once he said it's from me, they were free to not to obey. So the obedience is really to God. This is actually written in history. That we're all dead if we obey you. And they did move on to some other place. Okay, we do have a part where we have to ask general questions. So let's go to another general questions. After the problem is finished, take about 10 minutes to discuss circumcision.
Okay, verse 10. Okay. Conspiracy is from the devil, only causing problems to those who believe. Though he cannot harm them against the will of God, in God the believers shall trust. O you who believe, if you are asked to make room for others to sit down with you, you shall make room, that God may make room for you. If you are asked to leave, you shall leave. God raises those among you who believe and those who attain knowledge to higher ranks. God is fully cognizant of everything you do. O you who believe, if you wish to confer with the messenger, you shall give away and they deliberately swear lies. God has prepared for them severe retribution. Evil indeed is what they did. They used their oaths as a cover to repel others from the path of God. Consequently, they have deserved humiliating retribution. Never will their monies or children help them against God. They will have deserved hell, wherein they abide forever. On the day when God resurrects them, they will swear to Him just as they swear to you, and they will think they have some basis. Indeed, they are liars. The devil possessed them and persuaded them to neglect God's message. These are the party of the devil. The party of the devil are losers. Those who oppose God and His messenger are the lowliest. God has decreed, I and my messengers will always win. God is powerful, almighty. Okay. And here again we're talking about conspiracy as being from the devil. Conspiracy, conspiracy then meaning plotting against to do wrong.
Right.
Okay.
I wish I can think of something specific. Because those happened years ago.
Because couldn't you also look at...
Yeah, that's what I was.
Right.
Last month started.
Yes, exactly. See, I forgot
There
this.
were people and Miriam was.
Right. And they all dropped out. Some people decided they want to have a separate Quranic study and to look at the other translations and just to break away on a separate night. They did, and they're all done. Prove to be unbelievers. I mean, we really know that they are unbelievers.
The action they took was personally, was against you. You shouldn't be able to tell who comes to the mosque. He was against totally you being in charge. That's typical being against messenger of God, not listening to the one that God has chosen as the messenger who was in charge. Remember, he wanted.
It's coming to me now. Remember?
Yeah, he came one chronic study into all the country to debate this.
He was fooled by somebody that we know was the FBI informer. We didn't mind him being here. He fooled him. Remember this detail. They're all gone. So that's the kind of conspiracy. It's not good. It's divide the group. There's no good results. It's amazing, by the way, where these things happen, people went and they had their own Quranic study, for example, and they came out with the strangest conclusions. From the same Quran, I can tell you that Satan gets hold of them or something, he confuses every issue for them. And eventually I will remember some of the ideas that came out. It's very strange ideas. And they know it makes sense. The things that make sense. That's right, you can derive this meaning from this verse, but that's not what it says. If you twist words, you can come up with certain meaning. So hopefully I will remember some specific examples. But when people, it says here actually, conspiracy is from the devil. There we go. Then, conspiracy is from the devil. And these people who post their opinion and they went to study the Quran, I'm remembering some of the ideas. Yes.
Oh yeah.
Oh yes. Oh my God. Yeah, listen to this. I'm gonna get a kick out of this. Yeah, thank you. You're reminding me. The word they said that Salih. Yeah, this came out of their group. The old timers will remember this. They said, Salih. They said this is God's camel. Let it have its own drink in some places, and then they slaughtered the camel. So the word, people underage excuse us, but they said that they had sex with the camel. They killed the camel. That's what they came out with.
You're right.
Yeah. Isn't this what they said? Where did you get that? They said the word did not mean. They wanted a specific word that means slaughtering. And actually the word is specific enough, but it is not the common word. So this is one of the examples that conspiracy is from the devil. And they actually came back and they argued with me. So why you translated the slaughter of the camel? So we really are living the Quran. Conspiracy is from the devil. Obviously the devil gave them that idea.
Also, the people were reading from they were translating from the Quran in Arabic to English. They were not using this.
I think they used both. They used Arabic and English. They had some other translations.
And they were using it all together.
Yes, they had actually even Dr. Kuhn had that idea. Martha, you know Arabic. The word is ma'aqaruh. And the word dabahuh. This is the slaughtering the camel. So the word in the Quran, what they did to the camel was to slaughter. So they said aqaruh, I mean having sex with the camel, not killing it. Perverts. Conspiracies from the devil. This is what happens if we separate ourselves from the believers. The wolf gets us. Okay, back to Robert.
Okay.
Remember that.
Conspiracy from the devil. Though he cannot harm them against the will of God, in God the believers shall trust. That's right there quite an impressive sentence. In God the believers shall trust. That right there should put everybody's mind at ease when you're worried about things of any matter, whether it be from daily life to anything. O you who believe, make room for those who sit down, so that God may make room for you. Now, to me, this verse, what I thought of it as being righteous when to make room for somebody else to sit down, you're showing respect. You let somebody else sit down, and that God will make room for you in heaven. This applied to. That could be from my background or something. That where clothe the needy, feed the hungry. This type of. That's what came to mind when I read this verse. I don't know if that's along the same lines, but that's how I applied it. Especially the part that God may make room for you. And I thought that was in terms of.
Actually, it happened now. Literally, where's Errol? Did you find a place to sit down? Did you ask somebody to move? Did you have to ask somebody to move? Okay. But it's possible. He comes in and finds that there's nobody. There's no room. He asks somebody who can please make room for him. He can take it different or like Robert says.
Also, think of it as be considerate.
Exactly.
Be kind to others.
Exactly. Be considerate to others. It's a general principle. That is, if you're nice to the people, do unto others like
You'd have done to you,
God
right.
will be kind to you.
Yeah.
Like you kind to others.
Okay.
If your own comes saying, will you please, will say, no, don't kind of That's being inconsiderate, really.
God raises those among you who believe and those who attain knowledge to higher ranks. Okay, there again, God raises those among you. In other words, God guides the believers, and people who attain knowledge, He brings them to higher ranks.
Different levels of righteousness, and that's what raises that they have a higher level of righteousness.
God is fully cognizant of everything you do. There again, when you see that at the end of the verse, then you can apply some of the other things in terms of He's fully cognizant of all your actions. In terms of that's why every little thing as to letting a person sit down and being righteous in that manner is only seen as a benefit to you. It's seen as a plus or as a credit, as we always say. O you who believe, if you wish to confer with the messenger, you should give away charity before you confer with him. Okay, I saw this as being another means for another situation where God allows us to give to charity. Just another situation where He says, if you have the money, before you confer with the messenger, give to charity. That's another situation where God is allowing us to grow, essentially. That's how I looked at it. Because underneath that He says, if you don't have the money, God is forgiver, merciful. So that's I looked at it as the situation where human beings tend to be greedy, and this is a way for us to give.
Excuse.
Right. Okay. If you have failed to give charity before your conference, repent thereafter. You shall observe the salat prayers and zakat charity, and obey God and His messenger. God is cognizant of everything you do. This is again just reflect upon your actions and repent. There are those who ally themselves with people who have angered God. They neither belong with you nor with them, and they deliberately swear lies. Okay, this is a very important verse in terms of aligning yourself with people who are believers like yourselves, so that you may also, so they will help you, I guess you would say, to grow yourselves. When you're around people who, as it says here, angered God or are disbelievers, their actions tend to be I'm not judging their actions. Some things that are said or done, you can look upon them as in a non-righteous light, which doesn't further your progress along the right path. You want to keep yourself on the right path, and the best way to do that is align yourself with believers, or surrounding yourself with believers. God has prepared for them severe retribution. Evil indeed is what they did. Okay, this obviously refers to the angering of God in the above verse. Is there something? Is that what it?
Yes.
Is there a specific thing that this applies to in terms of how these people angered God, or an evil indeed is what they did?
Yeah, they align themselves with the enemies of God.
Okay.
Actually, we have examples of these. For people who would, for example, ally themselves. She told me about somebody who goes to the Islamic Center. Okay, the Islamic Center, they flagrant idol worshippers, they don't devote their prayer to God alone. And you know they anger God when they do this. They will not accept La ilaha illallah. You go there and tell them La ilaha illallah. They go, you can't. Makes sense. The story you gave me in the paper, they're criticizing me for saying that Salman Rushdie should have this freedom of expression. And in that letter they say, we agree, we admire, or we applaud the Catholic Church for making a stand against Salman Rushdie. Now this is the Islamic Center writing that. They're attacking me and applauding the Catholic Church. Okay. Now I say La ilaha illallah, the Catholic Church says, "Praise Mary, Mother of God." Like, so it is not an issue of worshiping God, it's politics or something. And how can they applaud the Catholic Church for anything? Because the Catholic Church itself practices the same thing that Khomeini practices. They don't like people to write about their shroud of Turin and all the nonsense that they have. And they have heavy censorship. They excommunicate people right and left because of their opinions. So they are birds of feather. Right. And the Catholic
Which was exactly the same thing. It's nice that they're right here, one right after the other. So you can just see how identical all the groups are.
So you can see how will God look at people like this, applauding people who are saying, "Praise Mary, Mother of God." That's expression. Mother of God. And condemning somebody who says La ilaha illallah, worship God alone. So anybody who allies himself with those people, God is angry with them. This is verse 15. God has prepared for them severe retribution, even indeed as what they do.
No, they're saying though, there are those who ally themselves with people who have angered God.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yeah, the Hail Mary, Mother of God, loaded with the
Blessed art thou among
Which I have no problem with. And then there's the Holy Mary, Mother of God, pray for us sinners now and at the hour of our death. That was what I thought was interesting. I had a Catholic neighbor and I asked her, she knew a lot about history, and that first part, which I think any faith, any monastery or anyone who believes.
No, it doesn't make sense. There's death, Mary is dead, Jesus is dead. How can you bless the womb with the womb when it's dead? Why you do anything to Mary? Say anything about Mary? She's dead. She's great. I mean, she's in God's grace. She's happy. I'm the one who needs the salvation. She made it. Why? She's dead. She's dead. Right. So let me put it this way. Instead of saying that, say Subhanallah, God be glorified, God be praised. Because God's alive, He knows eternity. He's the one that we worship. You don't need to mention Mary or Muhammad or Jesus or anybody. That's the point. Bless your sin. We need it.
Yeah.
I need it.
Want me to just read this last
Please God bless
last
me with
verse
guidance.
and then we can get on with the other discussion.
But the fact that Muhammad is only a messenger, there's nothing wrong with that. But you shouldn't say it in conjunction with God, because then you should mention every prophet, every existed if you don't even know.
Because God has a commandment that says, do not make distinction among God's messengers.
Excuse me. Do you let Browder finish?
No, I just have. Should I just read this last verse? Because you wanted to discuss the other.
Yes.
Yeah, and then. Yes.
No.
Oh, that's all right.
Let's not talk about
There's
that.
only one verse left.
Go ahead.
Okay. On verse 22, run for your life. You will not find people who believe in God in the last day befriending those who oppose God and His messenger, even if they were their own parents or children or siblings or family. God places faith into their hearts as He supports them with inspiration. He will admit them into the gardens with flowing streams when they abide forever. God is pleased with them, and they are pleased with Him. They are the party of God, and the party of God are winners. This verse is incredibly strong, I think, just from looking at Mr. Khalifa's own situation. This really truly proves if you're a believer, if you can ally yourself with God, even when your family is an obstacle for you. That's truly showing that you are a believer. That is confirming to yourself when you can put God above all things, especially someone that's so close as your family, and when those people feel that they are doing the right things themselves. God is the one, as you can go back, in God the believer shall trust. That says it all right there, and you have to put God above everything else, regardless of who it is. And to do this is oftentimes very difficult, but if you truly believe, then you'll be in the party of God, who are winners. Take it out.
This answers your question earlier, Mahmoud. You asked, about the people that opposes the messenger, and here it is. The verse says, "You will not find the people who believe in God and the last day befriending those who oppose God and His messenger."
We have not, in any kind of a way, been forced to practice religion. Rather, open-minded family. I'm proud of them. But in my heart, I've been always searching. I told Dr. Khalifa I was 16 years old when I felt like I want to go to a masjid. I did. The second time I went to the masjid, I was turned off because it wasn't for me. Things that I heard, it was not simply logical. Of course, I'm 46 now, but I've been growing up. I've gone through so much. You all know how we go through the steps. We get busy with other matters. We come and go. But one thing never went away from me. It was my thirst for God. And then later on, I got very, very interested in Quran. I don't know the reason of it, but I was just very interested. It sounds a little off. A man comes from Tehran, Iran, and he finds God in the United States of America. I call that destiny. It was in 1983, or perhaps, I believe it was 1983, somehow, some kind of way, I came across with 1 and 9, makes it number 19, and I was fascinated. That's why I went ahead and got a Quran, and I was going around and bragging about it. Hey guys, actually I was talking to a Jewish fellow one time, Iranian guy, and I didn't know he was Jewish. And I was telling him, look, what do you want? I mean, this is it. And he even didn't tell me he was Jewish.
1993, you were how old? Go on.
So, but as I said, as it comes and it goes, the first wave didn't knock me out, but just warmed me up. And, but again, I'm in transportation business. If you all ever come to Atlanta, you can ask who KE is. They call me KE. I owned the second largest taxi fleet in town, but I sold it, of course, and I'm happy. I still have much to be thankful. If you ask him what his radio number is, they're going to tell you it's 19. I have a property very close to downtown. It is on Highway 19. And inshallah, I've got good plans. I'm not coming to Tucson to live in here, but my goodness, I envy you in a way. My heart is with you. But I'll tell you one thing. You will come to the masjid in Atlanta, inshallah. It was a few months ago. Again, I don't know what happened. I wanted Quran again. I mean, never gave it up, but this time I really wanted it. I wanted the Quran. So I went through my papers. I found the address of Masjid Tucson again, wrote a letter, asked for a few books, and I got them. But this time, it knocked me out. It knocked me out. I talked to Dr. Khalifa many times, not many, a few times on the phone actually. And I told him, when I was telling him, I have no doubt, I never meant that I never doubted you. When I was saying, I said, I don't doubt, I have no doubt that Quran is indeed that communication which is direct. I didn't know that he had made any announcement actually at the time. This came to me about max 4 weeks ago. But let me say this to you. Without even the announcement, I was intelligent enough to see that, my goodness, there's got to be something. Now, if you're all asleep tonight and tomorrow you see a flying saucer in here in Tucson, Arizona, and the crowds go around it and there's no door, you can't figure it out. Then all of a sudden somebody from the crowd steps forward and he goes towards it and does something and the door opens and he gets in it and he flies around and maneuver around and he lands it again. Don't you believe that somehow those who made the flying saucer taught him something? He got some kind of a training from them. It is simply simple logic. So in the back of my mind I was saying that, well, it's got to be something special. He's blessed. He's blessed. So it was February publication, Muslim Perspectives, when I got it, and it says, give me only one reason. Dr. Khalifa, that was the first time I looked at what you said. So, hey, I'm fresh. And only one reason. I've produced so many Quranic evidences, proofs. You just give me one simple reason. And not for a second, backed off, didn't back off, even though I was expecting it. But I loved it. I loved it. And I loved him too. I just decided, I said, hey, Khosrow, don't overdo it. Don't love him too much. Because I'll be just as guilty, probably. I make another Jesus Christ or Prophet Muhammad. You see, you go through these things and things do make sense. They asked Prophet Muhammad, bring a ladder, go up to the heaven, bring the whole book together, show it to us. The miracles are performed, of course, but again, miracles come on in all different forms and fashions. I am simply overwhelmed. I have a good friend of mine, Andy Moat, and we were talking with a couple of Sunni Muslims and a couple of Shi'is, and the Sunnis asked, they wanted to at least eliminate some of the opposition to what they were saying. They said, well, he looks like blonde and American. Well, you must be Christian. He says, no, I'm hoping to become a Muslim. So I am a believer. I have no doubt. As I said, two things I know. I don't expect him to perform miracles every second. I know he's a human. I know he's going to make mistakes. The rest of them did. And I make sure that I control my emotions. I think I have overcome that. I will stay in Atlanta, and I think I have got my work cut up for me. I think God has blessed me with a wonderful family. I don't see I've got any weaknesses, I'm sure, but I think I'm okay. And I'm situated that I do good things. I've got good plans. I am going to be naturally communicating every step that I take with Dr. Khalifa to have his coaching and his approval. And inshallah, I'm looking forward to the good things. I feel God. An experience that I'd like to share with you. I've been always strong in my life. My frame is not all that big, but even physically I've been strong. I cannot be intimidated. I do my prayer regularly. Guess since when? When I said, well, yes, he is indeed the messenger. So even when I was going to pray, I said, no, I got to get to the point. I want to know how I should pray exactly, because the prayer that I used to do was a little different, not a whole lot. So I waited until I got the tapes and everything. Since then, I have been praying 5 times a day. And truly, like he says, that this contact prayer, it is not good. It's not for God. It is simply you establish that contact. It is the way you nourish your own self, your true self. I feed me like I feed my garments, like I exercise to keep my body trim. So therefore, I want to exercise my mind and grow. I've been talking to my wife lately, and she says, Khosrow, you're beginning to sound like Pritchard. I said, I hope not. It is what I feel. It is my love and for my family. One thing I've made clear, that I love him so much, but definitely for sure, God is number one. The experience I had, like Dr. Khalifa said, there's a giant next to you protecting it. Anybody doubts that? Anybody is doubting that? I go to the masjid on 14th Street and do my prayer, and since the time I prayed